Welcome to the new episode of Speak Revenue. Remember, revenue is not a goal, it's a result. But a result of what? In this show, we turn our eyes from the output towards the inputs. We speak to sales leaders and entrepreneurs about their journeys. Join us on our quest to uncover and learn the root causes of success. Let's unpack what worked for them and what didn't. Today, with our guest, James King. Hi, James. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Hey, Thomas, thank you for having me. Really happy to be here.
Hey, let's step right in. Let us know who you are, what you do, what makes you so successful.
Cool. Yeah, Thomas, I'm James King. I'm a sales director at Redgate Software. I wear two hats at the moment. I'm director of sales for the US, but I'm also a partners and alliances as I step into that role. I've been with Redgate for about 13 years now. I've left 4 times. I've come back every time,
Really?
which is something I'm sure you'll probably want to ask me about, as everyone usually does. But yeah, I've worked my way through the company over the last sort of 13 years. So here I am.
Awesome. So it's 2 roles. Maybe next question is a bit, maybe not really quick to answer. Where are your goals for the remaining year and also next year? Probably several different goals, right?
Yes, I think one of them is definitely to only have one role by the end of this year.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't recommend it for anyone, but I've stepped into a new role while I was still transitioning out of the other one. And my focus next year is going to be more around building a partnership and alliances team. I have about 25 people who work for me in the US in my sales team, and I didn't want to leave them without anyone for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
I'm juggling two things curiously.
Expansion in the US seems to be important. When it comes to partnerships, are you also focusing on the US market, or is it Europe as well?
So it's going to be a bit of a global thing. As a company, we've been a bit agnostic towards partners and channel for the last. We're a 25-year-old company. There's something
All
we
right.
haven't really put much effort into over the last 25 years. We've tried things here and there, fired a few bullets, as we call it, but we've not ever done the thing with any real strategic direction and with a real sort of solid goal in mind. So it seemed to me as an exciting challenge. I like to do something new. I like to throw myself into something that's a bit difficult, and seemed like a good next step. And added to that as well, I just moved my family back from the US to the UK.
Okay.
Managing the US sales team probably isn't the best use of my time going
Right.
forward.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. But it looks like it still makes sense to talk about sales or your sales role. What is your sales process from lead generation over closing to upsell? I think, I don't know a lot about your product and your company yet. What are the specifics?
Yeah, Redgate Software, again, we've been around for 25 years and we sell
Yeah.
database tools. So everything from monitoring your databases through to automating releases. So really important stuff.
All right. Yeah.
I'd say I like to joke, it's the boring stuff that keeps the world moving. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important. If we weren't there, people would have problems. But for us, we're very well recognized as a brand within our industry. From a lead generation perspective, we've always been quite fortunate that people have always come to us. We've had a very big sort of community base. But as you probably know from talking to other people, the world is changing. And, the days of it was Aaron Ross with predictable revenue. So you can just add a BDR, add an SDR, add another salesperson, you add another $1 million for your revenue. I think those kind of days they've passed a little bit. Everyone's doing it and everyone's able to do it. And I don't know about you, but I look at my inbox these days and about 90% of my inbox is just inbound from people trying to prospect me as a leader.
Right.
And I think that's a challenge we all have in the world of where we're trying to do this thing of calling people and emailing them, and we're cutting through some noise that's there. But for us, and this is partly why the change of role as well, we're looking at, how do we leverage things like our ecosystem? How do we cut through the noise and help other people and continue to grow as a business? That's still going to involve outbound. I think any salesperson that thinks they can not pick up a phone or do that that part of their business is probably dreaming. But I think certainly we've moved into a world where we have to be smarter and personable and human in our outreach.
So outbound sales is still relevant for you? Is it a big part in your sales strategy, although there is a big historical community?
Yeah, I think someone said it to me the other day, and I think this really rings true. I think if you're in a tech business at the moment, doesn't matter what role you are, you're in some way, shape, or form part of a demand gen process. So
Yeah.
whether you're in marketing or sales or an IS, you've got some part to play in that. And I think outbound still has a part to play in that. But again, as I said, 90% of my inbox might be inbound emails. The ones that stand out to me, the ones that look like it's been written by a person, it's actually
Yeah.
focused and targeted to me. They're asking me something that's related to something they've read or seen. And that will always cut through the noise. And I think that's where I think the world is changing slightly in outbound sales.
Yeah, those are very rare still. It doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn or email, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
Template and just insert name. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think even some companies are not even aware that it's maybe not the right approach for their specific business. They just try because maybe they heard it is standard process and many companies do it and they should do it as well. It really depends on the business model, if it works, and on the specific right approach, how it works for you.
Exactly. And I think there's that shotgun approach. If you spread a wide enough net, you're going to get something. But
Yeah.
when you start to look at the sort of returns on that, they're probably less than 1%. I would probably argue less than 0.5% return. Whereas I always remember back in the day, I used to sell houses, and this is where this sort of thing really
Okay.
clicked with me. We'd get a new property on, and my boss would come in and say, "Hey, phone everyone in your Rolodex," because that's how old I am. Phone your Rolodex and tell them about this property. And that's what good salespeople do. They phone everyone. They're active. They're engaged. But great salespeople, they'll know who to call. And they don't have to phone everyone in their Rolodex or everyone on their CRM. They know the right people to call, and they maybe phone three or
Yeah.
four people. And I think, again, in today's world, that's become a skill that is almost essential for any salesperson to really succeed.
Yeah, being efficient, reducing waste, avoiding wasted activities. Yeah, very important. So there are BDRs in your sales team, right? How's the process? They schedule calls and then hand it over to the AEs?
Yeah, for our BDRs, we mainly have a metric now around setting meetings. We used to have this motion where it was about creating opportunities. Again, I think that's become quite a challenging thing. An opportunity can be quite grey area. How qualified is this?
Yes.
But also there's an element of the more touch points the customer has, the less connection they're going to have to you. So with our BDRs, what we're actually doing now is we're just setting them to try and get us meeting. If they can set the meeting, then we can allow the AE, who we pay a lot of money to, be good at their job, to actually qualify that and really build an understanding of what the problem is and can we solve that. And I think that's removed some steps from that process, and it's also made us a bit more, I guess, credible in those engagements.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure who's the original source of this quote, but maybe Henry Ford, the best process is no process that you can remove. Okay, that's the best way to improve the whole process chain. What are the tasks of your AEs? Is there any specific framework they are following, and how does it work towards the actual sale?
We are very, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, we've got a very technical sale. We've got some very technical solutions. And one of the best things, we talked about process very briefly there. And one of the hardest things is it's going to sound a bit controversial, but I don't truly believe in processes and playbooks. I like to think of it, someone said to me once, as a recipe. To make a cake, you need eggs and flour and sugar.
Yeah.
But the quantities can vary and they can change as you can mix them in different orders. And I find that process can actually make us almost robotic in the way we engage with people. But the flip side of that is a process also helps people on board and get up to speed and learn things like MedPick, for example, as a way of qualifying. But really what I find is with our tools, because they're quite technical, it takes about 18 months for someone to be quite comfortable and have credibility and confidence in talking to our customers. But they also then usually have to use a sales engineer or a solutions engineer with them on the calls as well, because we can start going down some pretty deep rabbit holes with the technical side of things. And, even after 13 years in the business, there's still going to be things that will throw me through a loop, and they ask me certain questions. So we used to have this tagline of "we're ingeniously simple and it's more like increasingly complex" is probably a better tagline these days. But just the way the technology world's gone. But I think for salespeople, as part of a process, really what we're looking for them to do for our account executives is understand the challenge, the Mike part of MedPick. What are the metrics
Okay.
that people are trying to look to achieve? What's the state at the moment and where they're trying to get to? What's the pain they're suffering from doing that? Is the pain enough to make a change? And
Okay.
then do we have a champion? Because if we don't have those three things, then really we should probably be advising some. They're not probably in a position where they're ready to go down this process, which is quite long and intensive in their time.
Yes. We are talking rather about high deal volumes and enterprise sales, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess we apply this both to our small to medium business as well as enterprise. I think the model still works the same.
Yeah. And there are technical experts assisting the AEs. Did I understand that correctly? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that makes deals really individual from client to client. Maybe some ground rules are still necessary on a process level a little bit, but okay. This makes it also complex for customer success, right? So it's a complex technical solution, complex technical details to be taken into account. I assume there's already a well-designed, customer success or onboarding and upselling process in place, right?
It's funny you should mention that because for a longest time we were not just AEs, but we were the customer success. We see customers as like a long-term sort of relationship. It's not just
Okay.
sell them something and off we go. We
Mhm.
want to make sure that we embed that, and we want to avoid shelfware at all costs. That's probably a big mantra for us is don't sell people something they're not going to use. But we have, as
Yeah.
we've scaled quite rapidly and got to the size of company we are today, we've actually really started investing in customer success as an individual unit. Because again, I think we wanted to take ownership of our customers. We wanted to be able to look after them. There was a saying, obviously, I don't know if this applies across a lot of regions. In the UK, we say a pet is for life, not just for Christmas. I think a customer is a similar thing. And, if I sell you something, I should look after them and make sure you're set for life, not just for that one deal. But customer success is definitely, as you scale to a certain size, it becomes an inevitability, and you just have to learn to work alongside that.
Yeah. But how do you keep your team motivated? As it seems it is several steps in the sales process and different people, not only BDRs and AEs, also technical experts and the customer success team when it comes to onboarding. How do you keep them motivated?
That's a really tough question to answer because I think there's a lot of different things that go into motivation, but from a very, very high level, I think our solutions are very good solutions. And I think that really
Okay.
helps us in doing what we do. We can go to bed at night feeling confident that we're helping the
Yeah.
world. We're not curing any serious illnesses, but we are making things better for people. That certainly helps a lot with motivation to see the outcomes and see the things that we do. But I think also one of the really interesting things for us is we have a very team-based mentality. I think sales can be very full of lone wolves, and I think we're more like a wolf pack in that respect, in the positive way, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's working to help the customer, and they're working to help each other help the customer. And it's not like an individual sport. It's we say internally it takes a village, whether that's legal or infosec, customer success or support.
Right.
Everyone gets involved when it comes to a customer, depending on what the problem is or what the challenges we're trying to help with. And I think that keeps everyone motivated. I think that keeps everyone's motivation high because they've all got a goal. That's a singular goal for them.
Yeah, I've heard phrases like sports team, something like that. In many cases, Woodpeck is a new one.
Again, it's only because of the lone wolf thing, and I think you see,
Yeah.
if I'm looking at employing someone and I see someone, I think they're a lone wolf. I think instantly you're probably not going to fit in here.
Okay.
It's not
Yeah.
quite right.
How do you find the right people for your team? And what makes an outstanding salesperson for you?
I think something that really hit the light bulb switch for me was, is it Patrick Lencioni? I can't say his name correctly, but Patrick Lencioni, the Idle team player book.
Okay.
That was something I must have read about 6 or 7 years ago now. And they talk about hungry, humble, and smart. And I think
Okay.
that's really, really important for me. Education, it can help, but it's not everything. Previous roles can be a minefield, especially in the tech space. You've got people who are jumping maybe every 18 months, or they come from a big brand company that a high street name that everyone will know, but they might not necessarily fit into what you're doing because it's a different setup
Right.
or different process. But if I see someone and I think you're motivated, you're hungry to succeed, and I could give you that shot, or you're humble as well. So you're not arrogant. You're not in it for
Yeah.
yourself. You're here to learn. You're here to grow. And then they've got the smarts as well, a bit of emotional IQ as well, and sales IQ, and understand. Obviously, we sell a complex tool. You got to have some understanding of it. I found
Mm.
people in the most amazing places. I'm talking about ex-teachers. One of my guys is an ex-fireman.
Okay.
But yeah, we actually did this thing, and we still do. It's called Raw Talent, and we have
Okay.
this company where we pull people in and do this like mini apprenticeship or a mini apprentice style sort of day where we have, I don't know, 20, 30 people. We don't see their CVs at all, and we put through all these sort of tests and interview parts, and then we cut the team down to half. And then by the end of the day, we usually
Okay.
make 3 or 4 offers. And it's only then we look at the CVs and we think, wow, this person wasn't even in sales for the last 10, they've never been in sales, but they've got
Okay.
the natural ability to have what it takes. And we start them in these junior roles, but now some of my senior AEs have come from, but some of the best AEs at Redgate have come from, one come from Nando's selling chicken. That was his job before he came here. And the other one was selling cars. So we have a very, very open mind when it comes to what the right person looks like. It's more about the person than the raw talent we see.
That's really interesting. Yesterday, I had a conversation. I recorded an episode for this podcast with J.R. Butler, who is doing coachings and recruiting services for veterans and athletes who want to join the sales area. They are usually very competitive. In general, there is a good fit for sales.
Yeah, I completely agree. They're disciplined. They're disciplined. They're eager to succeed. They want to win. Generally, they've been humbled. And they have to be humbled during that
Yeah,
process. If they got the smarts as well, then I see that as a winning combination.
yeah. They're still alive. No, and that doesn't matter if it's veteran or athlete, but they know to survive. Can sports can break you somehow as well.
Yeah.
So I think hungry is very important. It just depends a little bit. Hungry for what? Hungry for money. I think hungry for knowledge is really critical.
That's a really hard one. I think when we spoke earlier, I was saying I don't feel like a typical salesperson.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot of sales interviews where, they almost assume you're a coin operated thing. Put some
Yeah.
money in, you'll do this task. And personally, that's never driven me. Money's a byproduct of success. It's a byproduct of doing the right
Yes.
things. And I think being hungry is more about you've got some sort of motivation and you're determined. And again, especially if you start out in these sales roles where you're BDR, you're picking up the phone 30, 40 times a day, and 95% of the time you're getting hit in the face, basically. And you have to have resilience and you have to have a hunger to get up and do that same thing day in, day out until you can get to a point where you understand what your routine and your rhythm is and your winning formula, your winning recipe.
Yeah. You need
Without hunger,
be able to avoid failure and learn from it continuously.
all the time. I think
Yeah.
every day. I think it's one of the interesting things. I'm digressing a bit, but as I've grown through my roles, every time you get a promotion, you feel it's like an imposter syndrome. You go from
Yeah.
being very good at what you were doing, so you get a promotion, and then suddenly you're not very good at this next task. You have to
Yeah.
learn a whole new skill. And I think even as you grow through the roles, you have to keep that resilience and you have to keep that motivation, that hunger going. Otherwise, the higher up you go, the lonelier you are in it as well. There's less people to draw on their expertise. And I think, again, that's a talent that kind of transcends the different parts of an organization.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The more topics you need to handle, the more important it gets to really try out. Maybe a bit to try and error. Of course, you need some, maybe some methodologies, approaches, and knowledge. But it's in the end, it's some trial and error as well. Yeah.
Fail fast, fail spectacularly,
Right.
but learn
Yes.
from it.
Yeah. Yeah. As you've been with the company for so long and it's so much great expertise, it would also be great to know something that didn't work in the past. Is it something, do you have something in mind?
Trying to think of something really good, but I mean, I've definitely failed a lot. That's something I've definitely failed a lot on. Well, I think initially, actually, probably one of the things that I really struggled with was stepping into management. And I actually, I failed first time before I stepped back and then I stepped forward again.
Okay.
And I think this is something that I see a lot with, especially newer people coming into the industry. We all have this motivation, this drive to succeed in sales.
Yes.
It's something that's quite strong. But there's also this whole thing, and I tell this to my kids all the time, is like, if you run too fast, you will fall and you will hurt yourself. And I think we have this sort of thing where we come in and we get into the role and we're like, what's next? And you haven't been in there for more than 5 minutes or, even a year. And you're thinking, I want to be at the next level. I want to be at the next level. And you're not quite ready. And I think I did that to myself. I sabotaged myself by pushing into a management role when I wasn't ready for it. And then
Okay.
I'm trying to teach people how to execute. And the role is very different. And basically what I ended up doing was trying to be a player coach and trying to do the execution as well as guide people on how to do
Okay.
it. And it's a bit like what do they call this? Unconscious competence. So we know how to do, we know how to breathe and we know how to walk, but we don't think what we have to do as part of that process to do that. And I think that was a muscle I hadn't learned and I hadn't even thought about. And I stepped into this role as a manager and I instantly felt like I was failing my team because
Okay.
I couldn't tell them what to do. You just do the thing. You do the thing and the thing happens. And that was being a bad leader. And I think for me to step back and really think about what it means to be good at the role that I'm trying to teach people was probably one of the best decisions I made. And I
Okay.
think it's a big challenge for people to step back. They feel like a failure again. You have to dig into that resilience, but sometimes it's the right thing to do.
When did you realize? Was there a specific situation?
It wasn't a specific thing. It was just an accumulation of feeling
Okay.
more and more uncomfortable over a period of time and feeling something's not right. I'm not happy in my role. And I think happiness in your role should be something that everyone should look for because we spend the majority of our lives working, majority of our week is in this office doing this thing that we do. If you're not happy, I think that should be raising alarm bells. But for me, it was like, I'm not succeeding here. I've gone from being very successful to not even unsuccessful, just feeling like a failure, feeling like I'm not achieving my potential, feeling like I'm struggling to help other people get there. Yes,
May I ask if you realized it at first or your superior team leader?
I think it was both of us. It was almost an unspoken thing, but we're very open. I'm very fortunate I've got a leader that I trust and I can have open conversations with. And again, I think that's very important.
That's great. Yeah.
And we said, this isn't, you're not happy. But I think the conversation was to me was, you're not happy. And my response was, no, I don't think I am. And
That's a really hard decision. Yeah. Yeah. I've met several people who, of course, they want to be promoted and be a team leader. But if you specifically ask, why exactly? Why is this the right next step for you right now? Many of them also struggle to answer. It's just like it is. It's just a path. That's how it's supposed to be. But why is there what would make you happy, and why right now, or what additional steps might be necessary to be successful in such a role?
I think for me, it's all about the right motivation. I think you just alluded to it very well there. It's like, why do you want to be leader? Well, just because that's the next thing to do. It just feels like the next progression. But I think people almost see it as surely it gets easier as you climb because you're telling other people what to do and you don't have to do that horrible stuff. But actually, I think as anyone knows who goes through the leadership route, it's very challenging. Your time is stretched more. You've got more responsibility. And, personally, I carry a lot of the stress that my colleagues would carry. I carry it personally. If they're struggling, I'm going to struggle alongside them.
Yeah.
And you have to learn to separate those two things a little bit. And that's something I'm still learning to do myself is, okay, I can't take that person's problems home because there's 25 people and that's a lot of problems. For me, it was motivation was I want to add value in the next way I can for the business, and I want to scale the way I can add value. And for me, I enjoyed mentoring people. I enjoy talking through problems and understanding them. And I guess my customers just became my team instead. The external customers I'm trying to help solve problems for. And I think once that fell into place, it really made my life a lot easier. Stop trying to do the things that I'm trying to tell people to do and just help people get there themselves.
Yeah, I understand. I think there are already several actionable insights for our audience. Maybe any lesson learned you would like to add and share?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things for me as a leader has been empathy. This is something I still find very interesting. I'm involved in Pavilion, I think like yourself, and there's lots of network peers and ex-colleagues that have moved on to other places. And I think one of the things that really kind of strikes me from where I feel my success has come from is trying to understand it, almost like the Maslow's hierarchy of need. It's like we're all humans. So when I've got an employee who's struggling with that first thing, and they've got maybe problems at home, they haven't rested, they're not going to get to the next level. Now, if I've got them to the point where they feel safe and secure and happy, then I can get them feeling like they belong as part of the team. And then once beyond, you get them building their self-esteem, then you can get to the point where actually they can really start to take off and fly. That's the point when you want to get to. You get to your A players is they feel safe, they feel secure, they feel happy, they feel like all of their worries are gone and they can focus on execution. And I think for me, that's come about from being as empathetic as possible. Start my one-to-ones with how are you? Not how's your business, not how's your pipeline, not how's your forecast. It's how are you? What's going on in your life that I should know about or I can help with?
Yeah.
And then
that makes sense.
You build trust. You build trust, and that enables you to really get the best out of people.
Yeah, really important to become successful with your team in the long run.
Yeah, you're running a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. So time is running, and I think we could talk much more about those topics, maybe in another episode. For now, it brings us to the end of the episode of Speak Revenue. I want to thank our guest, James King, for joining us today, sharing such valuable insights. I shout out to all our listeners. Your support means the world to us. Remember to check out our website at speakrevenue.com for a full transcript and additional resources. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever we go for your listening needs. Really helps get the word out. Also follow us on LinkedIn and Insta or on YouTube. We'll be back soon with another great guest. Until then, stay curious and keep listening.